So unfortunately, we don't work on horizontal surfaces that often on horses' feet. Much of the time we're working on a vertical surface. And so that makes it much more difficult to control where the material goes, because it tends to want to slump down towards the ground. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And one of the things that I didn't mention that is different about urethanes is because they're so fast setting, you can't dispense material out and then spread it around. You really don't have time. So all of your application control comes from this system. And so this is the system that we need to use. With acrylics, we can spread materials around. Because of that longer set time, you've got the time to do that. With these, it's very quick. Just like I said, is a real benefit when you're trying to get something done quickly. So I'm going to show you a surface here that's fairly vertical, and I've just drawn some shapes on here. And of course, these aren't indicative of what we would see on a horse's foot, but my point is to show you how you can fill in these types of areas and with a lot of control simply by using a specific technique. So let's take a look at that. All right. So when we're working on a fairly vertical surface, the importance of the three things that we talked about earlier still hold true. We want to hold it off the surface a little bit. We're going to be 90 degrees from that surface, and we're going to use a stirring motion. The difference here is when we're on a vertical surface, we want to move much more slowly. So we can stir material to keep it from slumping, and as long as we keep stirring, at some point, maybe about 30 seconds in, it will stop moving. And so we can fill in pretty much any shape just using the control of the mixing tip and that circular motion. So if the material is fairly runny, it's very hot, you just stay in one place and you keep stirring until the material stops moving. And it doesn't really matter where you start, but as long as you keep that material connected to the flow, or I should say the mixing tip should always be connected. In other words, we don't want material to fall out of the mixing tip. We want to keep it connected to the flow and keep stirring it. And that really gives us the control to fill in any shape we want. All right, so you can see that with a little practice, a little technique, we can actually put the material exactly where we want it. There is another way to do this, and this sometimes works better in the summer when materials are a little more fluid. If you want to keep material from slumping down to the ground, you can actually just put a piece of duct tape at the bottom of the defect and use that as your dam, so to speak. So we can, and this requires a little less control. And once we've got that base bead set up, we can start building on top of it and go up without the material having to slump down. So that's an easy way to control flow and to fill a defect without wasting material and having it slump down to the ground and getting rasped off.